Okay, here we go. Part 2 with service information usage. Okay, so we're back to headlights, daytime running lights, which is DRL, schematics. Now we have two different choices here. So how do we know which one this is, or where do we find that information? Well, there's a couple of places we can find that. But one of them is all the vehicles we have in the shop here that we use have that list printed out. Okay, so we need to look and see if this is a T4F or a T4L system. Okay, and we can find that on this sheet right here. It says T4F headlights, high intensity discharge. So our sheet here with all the different options on it tells us that this car, this Blazer we're working on, is a T4F. So it makes a difference which system we got if we're trying to diagnose it. The schematic's going to be different, okay? It's going to be a different schematic and have different parts and so forth. So that is key. All right, T4F is this one. So we're going to click on that. Now we get a schematic for that system. Okay, so you'll hear me say this many times in class. In electrical repair, if I have something electrically that does not operate, okay, customer comes in and says my left front headlight doesn't work, okay? First thing I'm going to do is check and make sure it's the left front headlight, because sometimes people don't know left and right, okay? All right, that's just simple. So I'm going to make sure which light doesn't work. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to just, functionally check it, see if the brights work, see if the dim works, or what's going on. So I'm going to get an idea of actually what's going on with the car. All right, and then the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it up. I'm going to look at the schematic here, okay? Because it's going to tell me what it takes to turn on that left front headlight, okay? Here's a low beam relay, a high beam relay, and then another low beam relay over here, okay? Then we've got a fuse here, a fuse here, and a fuse here. So we got 3 relays and 3 fuses already, all right? And we're going to have a control module involved in this somewhere, and it's right here. K9 body control module. So that's going to be turning on these relays and so forth. Okay, so I can just tell that by looking at the schematic. Now, so a schematic or wiring diagram is your roadmap to finding what you need to find diagnosing vehicles. Okay, so it's just real quick. Look at this. Scroll up a little bit. So I said something about the left side. So this is the headlamp assembly left. So this is the left whole assembly, the headlight, okay? So it has a high headlight, low beam. Here's a low beam headlight. Here's a ballast for it, okay? Because this is high intensity discharge. So we may not know what that is yet, but we know that those are the parts on this left side, okay? And then here's a solenoid in here too to switch it to high beam, okay? All right. So I can tell by looking at this that this one fuse right here, F32 underhood fuse, 15 amp, is what powers up that left side headlight. Well, that's a good place to start, okay? Now, it also tells me where that fuse is. It's under the hood, okay? All right? Now, that's something that's, good to know when we're diagnosing something. I'm not going to worry about this relay over here. It doesn't have anything to do with it, okay? I'm going to look at this relay, this fuse, and these connections here, okay? And that's before, or right early in our diagnosis. A lot of times, particularly when we start out and we're new in the business, one of our first questions is, where do I start if something doesn't work, okay? Well, that's exactly what I'm showing you right here. If a car comes in, this car comes in, you figure out which system it has on it, go to that schematic. Now you know exactly what makes it, what you have to turn on that light right there. So then all you got to do is test those to see what's going on. Okay? There's a way to test a relay. There's a way to test a fuse. There's a way to test the wire between here and here. Okay? And then we have the ground on this side. There's a way to test that. So we're going to learn how to test all those things in class. But this video is just for the purpose of showing you how to find the information that you need. Okay? All right, so that brings it down pretty simple, pretty quick. I know what to check and where to go. Okay? All right. let that sink in a minute. So, the point of having the video is that you can watch it again if you need to. All right, so I'm going to move on. Okay. All right, so that's easily, we can find that like that. So let's back up a little bit. Now let's just do a little thing here. All right. Left headlight. Right? So now it's giving us, we typed in left headlight, now it switched it around on us. But this is that search feature I was telling you about. So now we got all these different results here. And I don't know if we got the one we want. But there's one right here in power systems, wiring systems, horns, images, lighting. Lighting has 7 results. Okay? So now we've got all this stuff here. Well, I don't know if it's got this code in it or not. You know? There's about daytime running lights and so forth. So we got all this information here that we got to sort through, and we don't know if we need any of that or not at this point. So using that search feature is not the first step, okay? Okay, I'm gonna say that probably several more times. So let's go back up here. Let's time this real quick. All right, left front headlight doesn't work. Body systems, because I know that's in lighting, or lighting's in that. Click. Lighting, click. Schematics, click. And it already knows which system we've got, because we already put that in there. Let me back up one time, make sure. Lighting system, schematics, headlights. Yeah, there it is, T4A. Boom. So that's what, 5 or 6 seconds? I found the information I needed. Okay, if you do that search deal, it's going to give you a whole bunch of stuff that you may or may not need, probably don't need. Okay, so there's a time for using the search. We'll talk about that. But for normal repairs, information that you need, go to the section or the category that you need to go to that's in. Okay, so we're still talking about just how to use the system. All right, so let's back up. So if that's, let's go back to here. Let's look at bulletins. Let's back up. All bulletins. So service bulletins, service technical bulletins, are very useful. That's another tool, and they've got them listed here for us. Okay. So sometimes I want to look at the bulletins early on in my diagnosis, see if it's what's going on, and so this has information. This one here has exterior lamp condensation and water leak information and so forth. And so that's an informational bulletin. This is a technical bulletin. So it says intermittent door locks don't work. So this is all in that same category. Power lift gate stops sometimes. So these things give you a shortcut in our diagnosis, really. Gives you a shortcut in diagnosis, because if you look at a symptom, car comes in and says, well, sometimes my lift gate doesn't work right. Okay, well, I'm going to look for a bulletin for that. Okay, there's a procedure for intermittent or lift gate operation, but I might look at these technical bulletins first. Okay, so this one says power lift gate stops when opening or will not close sometimes. All right, so that's interesting. Now I've switched topics there, or parts of the car, but that's just to show how this works. Okay, so then if you open up that service bulletin, it gives you the subject. Okay, so that's kind of like a symptom too. The guy comes in and says whatever, and you'll be surprised how many times the customer comes in with a symptom, right, and it matches one of these bulletins. Okay, so you've really shortened your diagnosis process by using these bulletins. Okay, if you find one that matches. All right, I'm just going to tell you what cars that pertains to right there. Just going to tell you the condition there again. Okay, some customers may comment on any of the following issues. Well, and here's the reason for it, and then follow the procedure outlined here. So this service procedure, excuse me, is, let me say this again, this service procedure right here is only found in this bulletin. It's not found in the regular service procedures in our categories over there. It's only found on this bulletin. Okay, so that's extremely important. So it tells you what not to do here first, okay, sometimes, and then what to do. Okay? And it tells you exactly what to do, what parts you need or don't need, and fix the car and you're done. Okay? So, and then sometimes it has a special labor operation for that procedure. Okay? All right, and see there it is right there. So it tells you the labor operation number, the description, reconnection, and how much time that you can flag for that. So service bulletins are found in our service information, and you can find them a couple different ways, but you can do it by just looking at bulletins and looking at the topics. Okay? I really can't stress how important that is in speeding up your process and how many times this applies to a repair. Okay? I've had some really strange symptoms customers complain about over the years. The car does this or that or whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know where to start with that. Okay, but I look at the bulletins, and my goodness, there's a bulletin that says exactly the same thing. I'm like, who would have thought that? I mean, there's some really, really far out stuff. And so these are extremely helpful. But you find them in service information just like we did. Okay? All right. So every category on the vehicle is covered here. All right? So depending on what you're working on, you just go to the category you need to go to, and you can find the information. You'll have specifications, repair procedures, diagnostic procedures, which will have trouble codes and so forth, and all that. Drive line, driver information, all these things. The whole car is in here somewhere. You just have to learn which category you need to go to. That does speed up the process, but take the time to learn that, okay? Resist the search bar there, okay? All right, let's look at some of this stuff that's on the top up here. All right, so these are some shortcuts for us. Fastener specifications, okay? And they've broken that down in different categories, all right? Okay. So let's just look at disc brakes for example. Okay. So tells you table 1 is single-use fasteners, then some reusable fasteners. So a lot of fasteners, nuts and bolts on the cars nowadays, must be discarded and replaced with a new one after you've taken something apart. Okay. Good to know. So this thing tells you that. Okay, so that's just fasteners. Let's back up. All right, so let's go back to the home page. Fastener specifications, RPO code list. All right, what was that? T4L or something like that? All the way down. So these are all the different possible options on this car. Not necessarily the ones that are on this car, but the ones that could be. There it is right there, T4F. The headlights on this car were T4F. It says right there, headlamps, high intensity discharge. The T4L are LED headlights, okay? It's a different system, okay? All headlights are not the same. So this car had two different options on headlights, high intensity discharge or LEDs, okay? So you want to make sure you're on the right schematic because they're different. Different parts, different module maybe, different connectors, all that stuff different. So you got to get on the right page. So, but this is what the RPO code list looks like. It tells you everything that could be on this particular car. This piece of paper that I had long ago, which is 1, 2, 3 pages long. This page is for this particular car. It tells you what's on this car. Okay, that's the difference. But if you didn't know what those mean, then it's on here too, okay? So that's information that's good to know. All right, so that's RPO kit list. That's regular production option, RPO. All right, Let's go back to our page. Maintenance items. Okay, you might need that sometimes. So, approximate fluid capacity, this is what you think you'd find on the maintenance page. Fluid recommendations, and each one of these has a link to that information. Tire rotation, whole life, system resetting. That's good to know if you're on the lube rack. Several different ways that happens. Okay, so all that's there. So let's just look at where'd my cursor go? There it is. Let's just look at tire rotation, for example. All right, so it's going to show you how to what the direction is for rotating the tires. Okay, it's going to tell you, give you a diagram of how to do that right there. Okay. All right. Looks like my screen's a little out of. No, it's all right. Okay, sorry. Just making an adjustment there. Brings up a point. All the videos that I make are uncut, unedited. Okay? This is just more like we would be in class. Okay? I may stop making an adjustment here or whatever in class. So I don't edit videos. I don't chop them all up so that it gets a 20-minute video in 5 minutes. I don't have a problem with that particularly, but a lot of the information I'm sharing here is new. You need to watch it, you need to let it sink in, you need to think about it, not just boom, 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 boom. So that's just kind of a personal opinion there on that. So anyway, videos are uncut from Professor Steve here. All right, so that's information there on that. So maintenance items are all listed here. So that's pretty handy. All right, so let's go back to our screen. Master electrical list. This is super interesting. All right, so this has a search function up here. So let's just try one. I know one that I know. Let's see if this works. K9. Yeah. So the body control module is a K9 module. So what General Motors does is they, they have a name for every module that's on the car, like body control module. I just happen to have one of those here. Okay, it's just a plastic box, okay, with part number on stuff, and then got a whole bunch of connectors on the end of it. So this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 connectors. And if you can see inside there, a whole bunch of little terminals in there. So there's a whole lot of wires that goes to this little box. But that's also called the K9 module. This just helps simplify and make sure we know which module they're talking about. Okay, but that tells you again what its name is, tells you where it's located, also gives you a picture of where it's located, and then it also gives you every one of those connectors right here, shows you a picture of that connector and what circuits are on that. Okay, so that's pretty interesting. All right, let's look at this real quick and then we're going to chop this up. Okay, so body control module. K9 body control module is number 6 in this picture. Number 6 right here. Okay, body control module, number 6, and it shows it right down here. This thing is in, looks like underneath the console here. Okay, that's pretty handy if you need to find it. All right, you know where to look. It calls it out there, K9 body control module, and it points to it, and it's right there underneath the console of the car. If you need to blow that up, you can. There's a magnifying glass there. Okay. A little funny thing with the deal, sometimes it doesn't open it the first time. We can keep blowing that up so we can see where that's at. Number 6, body control module right there. Okay, all right, connectors are on this side. All right, if you needed to get to it to test something. That's pretty handy. And you see how fast we got to that? We didn't even have to go ask our neighbor. Okay, so let's go back to K9. And let's just look at connector number 1. All right, I'm gonna stop the video right here and then start back over.